In the final, frigid days of 1980, as the Cold War cast a long, dark shadow across the globe, two American air bases on British soil stood as silent guardians. RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters were nerve centers of NATO's defense, home to men trained to distinguish friend from foe in the sky in an instant. But in the dense, ancient woods of Rendlesham Forest that bordered their runways, something occurred that no training could prepare them for. For 3 consecutive nights, the veil between our world and another was torn, leaving behind one of the most compelling and officially documented UFO cases in history, Britain's Roswell. Before we open those doors together, hope you've been sleeping okay lately. It really matters. And if you're still with me, maybe hit like and subscribe. We're only getting started. The story begins on the night of December 26, 1980. It's just after 3 a.m. Airman First Class John Burroughs is on a routine security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge. With him is Airman Bud Parker. The forest is dark, a black sea of pines pressing in on the perimeter fence. Suddenly, a light pierces the darkness. Not just one light, but a series of them, descending into the trees. They are brilliant, multicolored, and moving in a way that defies explanation. Their first thought, their trained response, is a downed aircraft, an emergency. They radio for permission to investigate, and their watch commander, Sergeant Jim Peniston, joins them. The 3 men, armed and alert, pass through the gate and step into the chilling embrace of the forest. The air itself feels different here, charged, electric. Their radios begin to fail, emitting only crackling static. The forest, usually alive with nocturnal sounds, is unnervously silent. As they push deeper, the light intensifies. They break through a line of trees into a small, secluded clearing. And there, hovering just feet above the forest floor, is the source. It is not a plane. It is something utterly alien. Sergeant Peniston would later describe a craft of a design unknown to any Air Force on Earth. It was triangular, approximately 9 feet long and 7 feet high. Its body was a smooth, black, metallic surface, almost like obsidian or polished glass, reflecting no light from their flashlights. The entire object glowed with an internal, ethereal luminescence. Blue and yellow lights pulsed along its base, and a brilliant white light crowned its top. The craft was utterly silent. No engine hum, no rotor wash, just an oppressive, heavy silence. Peniston, a seasoned NCO, decides to conduct a full walk-around inspection. He feels a static charge in the air, making the hairs on his arms stand on end. As he circles the craft, he notices strange markings etched into its hull. They aren't letters or numbers. They are symbols, hieroglyphic in nature, the largest of which is a triangle with 2 small circles at its base. Compelled by a sense of duty, or perhaps something more, he pulls out his notebook and carefully sketches everything he sees. Then, he does something that will haunt him for the rest of his life. He reaches out and touches the craft. The surface is warm, impossibly smooth. As his gloved fingers make contact with one of the symbols, his mind is flooded. In an instant, a stream of information, what he would later describe as a binary code of 1s and 0s, is downloaded directly into his brain. He stumbles back, reeling from the mental impact, the numbers searing themselves into his memory. After what feels like an eternity, but was likely only a few minutes, the craft begins to react. The lights intensify, blinding the men. It levitates silently, rising above the treetops. For a moment, it hangs there against the starry sky, and then it accelerates, vanishing in the blink of an eye. There is no sonic boom, no trail, no evidence it was ever there. Except for the 3 men left standing in the clearing, their minds struggling to process the impossible. Shaken, they retreat to the base, their world forever changed. The next morning, a team returns to the clearing. The forest floor tells a story. 3 distinct impressions are pressed into the hard, frozen ground, forming a perfect equilateral triangle, marking the exact spot where the object had hovered. The pine trees surrounding the site bear witness as well. Branches are broken, and scuff marks are visible on the trunks, consistent with something maneuvering in the tight space. But then came the most disturbing discovery. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, the deputy base commander, was skeptical of his men's initial report. But when a Geiger counter was brought to the landing site, that skepticism evaporated. The radiation levels within the 3 indentations were significantly higher than the surrounding background radiation. The peak readings were found on the side of a tree facing the clearing. Something physical and radioactive had been there. The mystery was only just beginning. The following night, December 27th, it happened again. The lights returned. A security patrol reports a UFO hovering over the back gate. This time, Lieutenant Colonel Halt would not be a spectator. A decorated and respected officer, he decides to lead the investigation himself, to debunk this wild story once and for all. He assembles a team of security specialists, including men from the first night's encounter, and brings a portable cassette recorder to document everything. That recording, now known as the Halt tape, is a chilling 18-minute audio diary of military professionals confronting the unbelievable. As Halt and his team enter the woods, his voice on the tape is calm, professional. But that composure soon cracks. They reach the clearing from the first night and confirm the indentations. His Geiger counter shrieks, confirming the radiation. Then they see it. Across a field, a bright, pulsating red light hovers among the trees. On the tape, Halt's awe is palpable. He says, "It's a strange, small red light. It looks to be maybe a quarter to a half mile, maybe further out. I'm gonna switch off." The team moves closer. The light moves with them, weaving through the trees as if playing a game of cat and mouse. Halt's voice returns, now laced with tension. "It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. There is no doubt about it. This is weird." The light approaches and then stops, hovering over them. Halt describes it as looking like an eye, winking at them. Then it begins to project a beam of light down to the ground directly in front of them. He says, "It's dripping something down to the ground. This is weird." Later, he would describe the substance as looking like molten metal. But the phenomenon isn't confined to the forest floor. The team sees more objects, now higher in the sky. Halt's voice fills with disbelief. "There are other objects in the sky. They're moving at a very high rate of speed. They have sharp, angular movements. They turn 90-degree turns. They stop. They start. These are not stars. They are not conventional aircraft. They are performing maneuvers that defy the laws of physics as we know them." The climax of the night comes when one of the objects fires a concentrated beam of light directly down into the base. The beam strikes the ground near the Weapons Storage Area, or WSA, a highly sensitive bunker where the base's nuclear arsenal was believed to be kept. The implications are terrifying. For a brief, horrifying moment, it seemed an unknown intelligence was probing one of the most secure military installations on the planet. The encounter lasts for hours. The objects in the sky eventually merge into one and streak away. Halt and his men are left in the cold, dark forest, with a tape recorder full of evidence and a career's worth of certainty shattered in a single night. In the aftermath, Lieutenant Colonel Halt did exactly what a commanding officer should do. In January 1981, he wrote a formal memorandum to the British Ministry of Defense, titled Unexplained Lights. The memo is a dry, factual account of the events. It details the initial sighting, the landing site, the physical evidence, the radiation readings, and the subsequent chase. The Halt memo is one of the most significant documents in UFO history, an official admission from a high-ranking military officer that his base had been visited by objects of unknown origin. For years, the story was suppressed, but the memo was eventually released through the Freedom of Information Act, and with it, the Halt tape. The witnesses began to speak out. Jim Penniston, after years of silence, underwent hypnotic regression and claimed to have finally understood the binary code he received. He stated it was a message of guidance for humanity, providing coordinates for key locations of ancient civilizations on Earth. John Burroughs suffered from medical issues, including congestive heart failure, which he and his doctors believed were a direct result of radiation exposure during his close encounter. Of course, skeptics have offered explanations. The most common is the light from the Orford Ness Lighthouse, located several miles down the coast. The theory suggests that the men, in a heightened state of anxiety, simply mistook its familiar beam for something more exotic. But the witnesses, especially the trained observers like Halt, vehemently reject this. On his tape, you can hear him confirming the location of the lighthouse, noting that the object they are pursuing is in a completely different direction. They were professionals. They knew their environment. They knew what a lighthouse looked like. And this, they insist, was not it. Other theories, a meteor shower, a secret experimental aircraft, even an elaborate hoax, have all been proposed and systematically debunked by researchers. A meteor couldn't hover, project beams, and navigate through trees. A hoax of this scale, involving dozens of enlisted men and high-ranking officers over multiple nights, defies all logic. So what remains? We are left with the testimony of dozens of credible, trained military observers. We have an official military document confirming the events. We have a real-time audio recording of a deputy base commander witnessing something he cannot explain. We have physical evidence in the form of landing indentations and elevated radiation readings. And we have a mystery that has endured for over 4 decades, a puzzle with no easy answers. What happened in the dark woods of Rendlesham Forest in December of 1980? Was it a misunderstood natural phenomenon? A secret military test? Or was it something else? A true close encounter, a message from an intelligence beyond our own, delivered to the very doorstep of our planet's most advanced military guardians. 4 decades later, the lights over Rendlesham have faded, but the questions they ignited burn brighter than ever. What do you believe took place in Britain's Roswell? Let us know your thoughts. Thank you for listening.